Well, it's August, and welcome to my monthly video where I discuss issues of interest to our township. This month I've decided to focus on one of the many villages that are the heart and soul of our rural municipality. The Township of Rideau Lakes has placed its strategic priority on the vitality of its villages and hamlets and has invested and continues to invest in infrastructure in these communities. This investment includes recreation, roads, bridges, trails, community halls, and the celebration of our history in our hamlets and villages. Today I come to you from beautiful Chaffeys Lock and our small museum next to the actual lock station. Note, the local popular name for Chaffeys Lock is Chaffeys '(S) Lock. Unfortunately, the Canadian Permanent Committee on Geographic Names, which is responsible for official names, does not approve of apostrophes, and so the official name of this community is Chaffeys Lock with no apostrophe. In 1816, Samuel Chaffey arrived in Canada with several members of his family. In 1820, he established a milling business at the outlet of Indian Lake into Mosquito Lake, which is now called Opinican Lake, where the river drops by 4 meters. By 1827, when Samuel Chaffey died of swamp fever, which is malaria, his milling complex consisted of a grist mill, a carding mill, a sawmill, and a distillery. Today, while malaria is no longer a health risk, we still have mosquitoes, and this year, of course, many gypsy moths. The building of the Rideau Canal required the demolition of all of Chaffey's mills to make way for the construction of the lock and the dam that converted a maze of swamps called Mud Lake into the navigable and picturesque Newborough Lake. Colonel By purchased the mills from Samuel's widow, Mary Ann, and completed the work at this site in 1831. Today, Chaffeys Lock is a thriving cottage and tourist community, centered around the lock station and its famous resorts, which attract tourists from across the continent. The Lockmaster's house, built in 1844, is now operating as a museum, which is where I'm taping this video today, and this museum is operated by the Chaffeys Lock and Area Heritage Society. The Lockmaster and his staff were the only inhabitants of Chaffeys until 1870. In 1872, John Chaffey, nephew of the original founder, opened a grist mill and a woolen mill on the Opinican Lake side of the bywash. During the first years of the mill's operation, no bridge existed for the farmers to take their grain to the mill. It was ferried across until a swing bridge was built in 1884. This building is now the mill at Chaffeys Lock Art Gallery. In August of 1828, malaria hit the construction workers at Chaffeys, and 11 laborers were quickly buried in the Chaffey Cemetery. The graves of 79 canal laborers, many who were Irish immigrants, died over the 4-year construction period and lie beneath the rows of unmarked stones. The cemetery now contains a memory wall built of lock stones containing plaques that provide a social history of Chaffeys in the 20th century. Names of former residents and summer tourists who've helped shape the area are preserved with insights as to why they were here. Throughout the 1800s, Chaffeys witnessed a continuous flow of steamships and barges that carried colonists, wood products, and minerals from South Shield mining. Cord wood for the steamers, cheese from the ice house, and grain were loaded from warehouses beside where the present Lockmaster office is now located. The lock operated 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. After 1900, the timber was gone and South Shield mining was no longer profitable and shipping declined. Fortunately, bass fishermen had discovered the teeming lakes in this area. By the 1930s, over 40 guides operated from the Opinican and Simmons lodges. A new era of tourism began to develop, which continues to this day. The resort period continued to grow with Simmons Lodge, which once boasted a fine dining room, and Dorothy's Lodge. From the early 1900s, the Alfred boat building business grew into Alfred's Marina, which is now Brown's Marina, and Alfred Mechanic opened Franklin Marina. The community hall, built by the Chaffeys Women's Institute in 1932, was a centennial project on the canal's 100th birthday. Today it is owned by the township, but operated and maintained by a large core of dedicated community members. Until the Canadian Northern Railroad came through Chaffeys in 1912, the principal way for the fishermen and tourists to arrive was by the numerous passenger boats such as the Rideau King and the Rideau Queen. There were a few cottages built in the early 1900s, but the cottage era really began about 1950. After 1950, a setting of trees and lakes became a source of relaxation and rest from the stresses of urban life. To catch the largemouth bass that Chaffeys had become famous for and to have a shore dinner built the hamlet into what it is today. Today, visitors and summer residents are well served by a number of resorts and marinas. Brown's Marina, Dorothy's Lodge, Franklin's Marina, Green Valley Cottages, Indian Lake Marina, Rideau Lakes Cottages, Rideau Tours, and Skycroft Campground, among others. Starting out as a residence for John Chaffee around 1896, the Opinican has been in turn a rooming house, a private fishing club, a family resort, and the restaurant pub everyone enjoys today. Today, visitors come by car, by boat, and sometimes by float plane to eat in the restaurant and enjoy a cone at the iconic ice cream shop. Owner Fiona McKean and her spouse purchased it a few years ago and have invested heavily in it. It is now recognized as one of the most beautiful lodges in Ontario. Chaffeys Lock is a community not to miss if you are visiting Rideau Lakes. Its location on the Rideau Canal, a UNESCO World Heritage attraction, ensures it continues to be a vibrant village in Rideau Lakes. It is part of the South Crosby Ward, which is represented on Rideau Lakes Township Council by Councillors Claire Smith and Joan Delaney. Thank you, and have a safe and great remaining summer.